Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. I am Chad, the Reseller Rockefeller. Today is, it's actually March the 7th, and I'm out in the warehouse. I'm just trying to get some work done. I'm going to be photographing and listing some items later on today. Right now, I have a few late shipments that just came in. It's almost 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes I'll pack and ship some late shipments if they come in and I have enough time and I can make it to the, or I'm going to be, heading into town anyways. And I try to get in as many shipments as possible as long as it doesn't affect, my scheduling or something of that nature. But so I'm going to pack and ship some late shipments. But I wanted to make a video today. So today's video is going to kind of be all over the place. I got a lot of different things that I'm going to be doing. I got some rearranging that I need to do in the back of the warehouse. I don't know if you remember, I think it was like a few videos ago, I showed the back of the warehouse, or maybe I didn't. I thought that I did, but I possibly completely forgot to show. So I'm going to walk back here and I'm going to show you what I'm actually talking about. So back here is this, my back corner pretty much of the warehouse. And this used to look like this. All right, so now you can see the big difference. There was a bunch of boxes, over here, completely piled high. There was a bunch of boxes over here on these two tables, and this was just pretty much my storage space. This is kind of where, things got stored, and all of the stuff that was stored over here wasn't like my inventory. Everything that was stored right there was stuff that, I got when I did big purchases. So, when you're in this business, especially if you're the kind of person that buys stuff in bulk, you're going to end up with a bunch of, just miscellaneous junk. So, if I buy out a storage unit, I'm going to pick out all of the good items, and then the rest of the items, I'm either going to donate, throw away, or just give away. That's what most resellers do. Well, what I've learned over the past couple of years is how to streamline that and how to take that a step further into making more money. More profitability in my pocket is better for me, it's better for my business, and it's better for my overall profit margins on items. If I buy a storage unit for $500 and then I remove a bunch of items out of that stuff and I put those items on eBay, Etsy, Amazon, and I make $1,500, the remainder of that stuff is still profitable if you can figure out how to sell it. Most people just donate it, take the tax write-off, or they just give it away, or they just sell it for like, completely, almost nothing. So over the years, I've kind of, formed relationships and, made contacts with people that are willing to buy those lower end items from me at a pretty decent, margin. They're willing to spend money, and they understand my business. They understand that those items are not going to be, super valuable items. They're not going to find, gold and silver. They're not going to find any really big ticket items. And they're completely fine with that. These people that I sell to are people that own, very small thrift stores. Maybe they go to the flea markets. Those are the kinds of buyers that want that type of merchandise. And so if you can make a connection with somebody that's willing to buy that stuff from you, then just hold on to that stuff, and depending on how much you buy, about every couple of months, just have them come over and they buy all that stuff from you. So that's kind of what I do, or what I've been doing. But here lately, I've been getting, I've been wanting to kind of reduce my footprint, not in the sense of how much stuff I have listed, but in the sense of just how much stuff I have around in general. Because what my whole idea is to have this warehouse completely different in the next, probably 3 to 6 months. This warehouse is going to look completely different. I'm going to have things set up completely different. And one of the big reasons why I'm making this big change is because I want to start getting into making more of my t-shirts. So I've always, been making t-shirts. I've always, had that business going, and it's a really good business. I love it. I actually enjoy it. And I make quite a bit of money doing it because it's all vintage iron-on transfers. Now, I don't want any of you to think, t-shirt business is a great business. I'm not really familiar with modern day t-shirts. I'm not really familiar with the way that t-shirt businesses are handled today in 2019. I don't really mess with modern shirts at all. I basically am talking about vintage t-shirts only, vintage iron-on transfers. If you've been following my channel for a couple of years, then you remember a few years ago, I bought out an entire warehouse full of vintage iron-on transfers. And for all of you that are actually watching right now and don't really understand what I'm talking about, let me grab one of these transfers so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Alrighty, so this is a vintage iron-on transfer. Basically, it's backwards right now, but that is an iron-on transfer. This will go onto a t-shirt, and then I will sell the t-shirt. And this is just, you know, really popular designs, things that they used to sell back in the 70s and 80s. I've done really good with them. I've actually, you know, have tons of experience because I've learned a lot about these. When I first made the purchase a few years ago, I really wasn't that knowledgeable of vintage iron-on transfers. I really didn't have a clue what I was getting myself into. But I made a big purchase. I purchased over 1 million of these transfers, probably upwards of like 1.5 million. I haven't done an official count because they're as thin as a piece of paper. So, I mean, you know, it's really hard to count them. And I just have boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes full of these iron-on transfers. But when I made the purchase a couple of years ago, I thought to myself that I was just going to flip them, make some money, and move on. But then after I, you know, kind of got involved and I started to make them, first I started to make shirts for myself, and then I started to make shirts for friends, and then I started to have people want to buy them. And that's when I really started to notice that people loved these iron-on transfers. Every time I would go out in public, I would be at like a Publix or a McDonald's or something, people would always ask me, hey, where did you get that shirt? And usually it was always, you know, people that were, you know, in their 50s, you know, 40s. Older gentlemen and older women that remembered these shirts from back in the day. So I started to realize, man, these shirts are actually something, you know, that I could possibly sell. These people actually want to buy my shirts. I've had people to offer to buy my shirt right off my back, depending on the design that I had on it. So that's when I started to think about, you know, getting a heat press and start making the shirts myself. And then I realized that I can get even more money for them if I actually put the vintage iron-on on an actual vintage t-shirt. So I started to experiment with that, and it's turned out to be a lot harder than I expected because vintage t-shirts are just not that common. You can go on eBay, you can find vintage t-shirts, the blank ones, but people are wanting outrageous money. They just want, you know, $12, $15 a piece. So over the years, I have found numerous t-shirts. I've kind of hoarded a good collection of blank vintage t-shirts. And it's just from, you know, every now and then finding them at garage sales, estate sales. I've actually bought a few boxes from off different auction sites. So I have a few thousand vintage t-shirts now. And so I'm really wanting to, you know, start making these more and more. I have so many of them, and I just don't have the room and the space right now. So that's why I really want to revamp my warehouse, kind of do some rearranging, make it more open and just less cluttered, if that makes sense. I mean, it's not really cluttered to me because I know where everything is at, but just the way that I have all of the aisles set up, I just don't think that's going to be efficient for what I want to do. So in the near future, there's definitely going to be some videos of me rearranging this entire warehouse. I was actually thinking about doing a really cool time lapse sometime, you know, in the future. Maybe I'll spend like 1 or 2 days and I'll put the camera up, you know, really high on the ceiling, and I'll do a complete time lapse of me just completely rearranging the warehouse. But anyways, I got a bunch of stuff to do. I'm gonna pack and ship a few of these orders that came in late, and then we're gonna do some other stuff, and I'm gonna answer some viewer questions. I had a few questions come in. I also had some questions regarding a few other things about how frequently I list and all that good stuff. So those are gonna be answered later on in the video. But yeah, like I said at the beginning, this video is gonna be kind of all over the place. I have so much different things going on. I do have somebody coming by this evening to buy a set of speakers, and then I don't know if I showed you this in a previous video, but I bought this piano. Actually, I didn't even buy this piano. This piano was pretty much given to me, and I finally sold it. But the bad part is I gotta deliver it. That's the bad part, and I hate delivering pianos. I hate picking them up. I don't like, you know, moving them because they're big, and it seems like every time I touch one, I pull my back out, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna try to be as gentle as possible and try not to break it, but I don't want to hurt myself, so I'm gonna try to get some help. But yeah, I just sold this piano. So yep, this piano here was pretty much given to me, so I don't really have anything into it. I know a lot of you stay away from big items like this, but you know, if you have enough knowledge and you can kind of you know, determine if it's something that you're actually going to be able to sell, you know, and you have the space, I would recommend picking these up. I mean, I've done quite a bit of money over the past few years in pianos and organs and things, but you do have to be careful. There are tons of, you know, different pianos out there that are just not even worth you know, the weight of wood. But this piano I pretty much got given to me for free, and I just sold it. I'm gonna have to deliver it, but they're paying $4.50 for the piano, and they're paying me $4 to deliver it. So yeah, that's gonna be a fun little adventure, but that'll be later on in the video. Until then, let me get back to packing these orders. I absolutely love these boxes right here. I get these boxes from a medical office off of University Avenue. I've been going to this medical office for probably a year, maybe even a year and a half, and I get free boxes. I get bags and bags and bags full of these air pockets or air bubbles, whatever you call them. I get literally as many as those as I possibly want, and I get all of these boxes that they have. And so these are the perfect box for shipping, you know, like stereo receivers, VCR, DVD combos, anything that is heavy and needs actual protection, because these are really thick boxes. I think they're like triple or at least double or triple corrugated. They have, they're just really good boxes. They're very sturdy. I've never had anything get damaged in shipment, and they're absolutely free. So even though they say, you know, blood tubing test on the side, I've never had a complaint. I've never had one person complain. The item that actually comes in these boxes is this right here, this Nip-Pro blood tubing set, and they're just brand new. They're not anything nasty. I also like that on the box it says fragile, handle with care, and it also has the do not cut little symbol and the words here, so that's even better. These are the best boxes, and I get them for free. This is something that you need to be looking into. I said it in other videos. Figuring out how to make connections to where you can, you know, get shipping materials and boxes and things and not spend any money is the key to actually raising those profit margins much, much higher. Also, another really good insider tip of, you know, coming from somebody that's been in the business for over 15 years, finding items that you can buy, you know, in bulk that constantly sell is one of the best strategies of, you know, making consistent income and just constantly bringing money into your business. I don't really do it in the sense of, you know, I don't run out all the time and buy, you know, 1,000 lipsticks or 1,000 body cream or whatever the case may be. But every now and then, if I'm at an auction, if I'm at a storage auction maybe, and I see a bunch of the same item, and I have the knowledge of knowing that that item could potentially sell on a regular basis for the next, you know, if I buy 10,000 for the next, you know, a year, 2 years, whatever the case may be, I will pick up those items. And so I'm going to show you one item that I picked up probably a year ago, and I sell these on a regular basis, very consistent. These sell for me probably two to three times a week at least. Sometimes even more. Like this past week, I've probably sold maybe 12, 15 of them, and it's just because Bike Week is right around the corner. Bike Week in Daytona is actually this weekend. Yeah, I sell these all the time, and so I thought it would be a good tip for any of you out there that are just now getting started into reselling. Find items that you can buy in mass quantities, and make sure that it's an item that's actually going to sell. You don't want to, you know, have an item, and also make sure that it's something that's not going to take up a lot of room. I wouldn't recommend running out and buying, you know, 10,000 skateboards, because 10,000 skateboards is going to take up a lot of room. Now, if you have the room to store the items, and the items is actually something that's going to sell, then by all means go out there and buy those 10,000 skateboards. But for me, I'm talking about very small items, things that don't take up a lot of footprint, you know, it doesn't take up a lot of room, and they're consistent sellers all the time. So let me go ahead and flip the camera around and show you this item. Alrighty, so this is the item that I am talking about. This is a vintage Last Ride poster. Pretty much, you know, just a regular print, really cool. Got the eagle up there, and it's grabbing the guy and yanking the guy up. I imagine, you know, really cool poster. I think this has to do with, you know, like your last ride, something about, you know, motorcycle and dying and things of that nature. Not really sure the meaning behind it, but a really cool poster. I like it. I thought that it had potential when I seen it, and I figured, why not? Let's buy them. I purchased a buttload of these. I mean, there was probably over 8,000 of these posters, maybe even more. And this is what I ship them in, just a regular poster tube. You know, doesn't cost a lot of money, really easy to pack and ship, and I sell these on a regular basis. So this is a prime example of an item that you can buy, doesn't take up a lot of room. They're going to sell consistently, and I paid $150 for all of them. So when I got to the estate sale, I seen that they had a couple of these laid out on a table. I asked them if they had any more. The guy told me the story about his father and being the artist or the printer. Or he was somehow connected to the posters. I can't remember if he was the actual artist or if he was just the person that was printing them and you know, distributing them. But I ended up buying about 8 boxes full of these. And if I can remember correctly, there was probably like 1,000 or even 2,000 per box. I can't really remember. It was almost over a year ago. But ever since I purchased these, I paid $150. I have sold these consistently on a regular basis. Sometimes I get, you know, I get orders of maybe somebody will buy 5 or 10 of these, and I'll give them a better deal. But for the most part, they sell consistently along the week, you know, a couple of times a week. So these have made me so much money over the past year, and it's something that most people just don't think about. It adds up. They don't really sell for a lot of money. I sell them at I think it's $12.88 plus shipping, so it comes out to be like $15.88, I think. And they cost me a little bit of you know, shipping cost. I have, you know, these shipping tubes. I also have you know, the postage. But when you really think about it, I'm probably profiting at least somewhere in the realm of about $6 to $7 for each one that I sell. I've already made my investment back, so you know, I've been making money on these for now, you know, going on a year. So I just wanted to show you that, just for all of you new resellers out there. Keep your mind open, look for stuff like this, and make sure that you pay attention to everything that you're looking at, because you never know what can make you money, and you got to think outside of the box, and you can't be big purchases. Some people would have looked at this and thought, you know, there's too many of them. I don't know what to do with them. It's super simple to make a multiple quantity listing, and that's why I love finding items like this. I have numerous things in my warehouse that I own, you know, hundreds of, and they constantly sell. But I am very particular on those kinds of items. I'm not just going to run out and buy anything and everything. I've made huge mistakes in the past, you know, buying large quantities of items that just never sold. So I only do it if it's something that I know is going to sell. Okay, I have these late orders packed and shipped. I'll take those to the post office on my way into town. Alrighty, so I have somebody who is coming to pick up this this little wicker, I think you call it an entryway table or something. It kind of goes by the, you know, your front door or something. Or it could just be placed anywhere. But I picked this up a while back. It was part of, I think, a storage unit that I bought or something along the lines. And I just sold it. Somebody's bringing me 45 bucks. So that wasn't a bad deal at all. It's actually really nice. It's not, you know, really cheaply made. It's made out of real wood, real wicker. So, I mean, it's a pretty nice piece. It's, you know, it's been taking up some room. My wife was going to use it, but she decided to actually get rid of it, so I listed it. It's sold. Also, I sold this set of fitting, which, let me pull this down so I can give you an idea of what this actually is. So this is vintage fitting glassware. Pretty ugly stuff. I think the color of it is just ugly. I think the design is ugly. But obviously, some people like this. I mean, I'm not really sure who is the type of person to like this type of stuff, but there's plenty of people out there that think that this is, you know, they think it's nice, beautiful, amazing. But yeah, this is Fenton, and I think they call it water and wine. I'm not 100% sure. Or no, that might be Fenton something else. This is the water and wine, which is blue. Same design, but this is the one that's called blue water and wine, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to go back into my book and look. That's one of the things that is extremely hard over the years, is learning all of the different patterns, learning all of the different colors of glassware and things of that nature. Glass has been one of the biggest, you know, over the years. I just, you know, it takes me forever to learn glass, but I have enough knowledge to get by where if I'm at an estate sale or a garage sale and I see something that, you know, has a certain pattern or a certain color, I can usually identify it, and I can immediately, you know, tell who made it and the period it was made in. But yeah, I have somebody that's coming to pick all of this up today. I listed it locally on Facebook, and I sold it all for 75 bucks. So not a bad score. I purchased this probably at a garage sale. I think it was about 6 to 8 months ago, and I think I paid $5 or $10 for the whole bin. So not a bad score at all. Made some money and avoided eBay's fees and shipping and all that good stuff. So sold it locally. This is getting picked up today, along with the wicker little stand right here. Both of these were purchased by the same buyer, so that was really good. I don't know if I talk about this a lot on my channel or not, but I'm a big believer in, you know, selling stuff locally. I sell quite a bit locally. I'm always, you know, if it's something that I think will sell locally, I will definitely list it on local platforms. So if you're somebody that's in the reselling business and all you're doing is focusing on Amazon and focusing on eBay, I highly recommend that you start focusing on local flips, because there's a lot of stuff out there that, you know, I really wouldn't really mess with on a regular basis, but I do know that it sells locally. So I take those items, I buy those items, and I just flip them immediately on Facebook Marketplace or Let Go, OfferUp, whatever's popular in your area. And I do really good with it, you know. Furniture items, I don't really try to mess with that much just because of how much room it takes up. But every now and then I will get a piece of furniture, and I will be able to sell that piece of furniture, because furniture sells really good on local platforms. And household items, home decor items sell really good. So be on the lookout for those kinds of items, and always, you know, always be thinking about, can it sell locally? Even if you pick up an item and, you know, it's not something that is eBay worthy or Amazon worthy, doesn't mean it's not worth money, and it doesn't mean that you can't make money on it. You always got to think about that third option, which is, can it sell locally? Can I put this on a local platform and sell it and make money? Also, I'm probably going to be doing a video later on in the future regarding local sales, because it's one of the big things that I see a lot of people struggling with. People don't realize that if you want to sell stuff locally, you got to kind of have thick skin. You need to be, you know, you need to be straightforward with people. You need to have somewhat of a sense of, you know, not being taken advantage of, because for some reason, people that buy stuff locally, they like to kind of manipulate their way into getting what they want, either by, you know, trying to negotiate you down to almost nothing, or making you drive all over the city to, you know, meet you here and then change their mind, meet you there. And if you spend all of that time and you're just out there wasting a bunch of time, then local sales just isn't worth it. If you're driving all over the place and you're meeting people here and you're meeting people there, and, you know, you're getting taken advantage of, in the end, it's just not worth it. There's no point in you, you know, devoting that much time, that much energy into something that's only going to make you a few bucks. Now, for certain items now, if I'm, you know, selling a $1,000 item, then yes, I will devote a little bit more time and effort into that item. But let's use common sense here. We're talking about just regular run-of-the-mill stuff, you know, like these items that I just showed you. If the woman was like, hey, can you meet me across town, and it was like a 35-minute drive for me, I probably would say no, just because it's just not worth it for me. Now, if she's buying multiple items and she's willing to, you know, pay for the delivery, or she's willing to meet me close, then I will rearrange my schedule. I'll make things happen and I'll make that deal work. But you gotta just be on top of your P's and Q's, and you have to understand that, you know, sometimes it's just not worth it. And you don't want to get yourself caught up in you know, wasting, you know, 2 hours out of your day just to sell a $5 or $10 item. So I'm going to be making a more in-depth video later on down the road regarding, you know, local sales and how I kind of handle things and kind of my go-to strategy and my attitude when I approach a local sale. And it has worked for me. I've kind of, you know, over the years, I've gotten really good at doing it, and I do things a little different. So maybe that video will help you guys, and maybe it'll be something that you'll enjoy. So that'll be later on down the road. Okay, so I'm back in the office. I wanted to cover a couple of questions that I got from one of the viewers. I'm not going to give out his last name, but his first name is David. He messaged me on Facebook, actually. I actually have a Facebook page, Resellerrockefeller, so he must have went to there and messaged me. But basically, he was asking about how I do my postings when I list, you know, like make a posting for buying items or that I buy stuff. And to kind of sum this up, it's kind of hard to explain, but I hope that I can do my best. I basically just put postings all the time. I'm constantly posting on Facebook. I'm constantly posting on Craigslist. I even put posts up on other places, like local places that are businesses. I have little flyers and kind of like oversized business cards that I will put up in those locations. I'm always passing out flyers and business cards to people, letting people know that I buy items. All of my flyers and business cards pretty much, you know, list the items that I'm interested in. And I get a lot of business from, you know, people just calling me wanting to sell stuff. So, you know, after you start getting your name out there, you're going to start receiving phone calls. You're going to start receiving people asking for, you know, your help, you know, cleaning out a garage or cleaning out a shed, or maybe they're moving and they just want to get rid of items. And you're also going to get a bunch of phone calls from random people looking to just sell, you know, a 1990 TV or something. You need to learn how to weed out all of the, you know, the unnecessary calls, the stuff that you're not really going to be interested in, because you're going to spend a lot of time, you know, driving to people's houses just to look at, you know, something that you're honestly not interested in. And the basic strategy that I use is, you know, when people call, I have a, you know, a set questions that I ask. I always ask, you know, what is it that you're trying to sell? Do you have photos? If they tell me they have a bunch of items, then usually I'll say, well, give me a good idea of, you know, what it is that you have. Do you have, you know, electronics? Is it bunches of clothing and old diapers? You know, you need to get a good understanding of what it is that they actually are trying to sell before you put in too much time of, you know, talking or driving and going to look at the stuff. That's a lot of trial and error. You're going to learn as you go. But as far as the actual posting itself, I basically wrote up on my Mac, I pretty much wrote down a pretty nice description of, you know, hey, my name is Chad. I buy, you know, anything and everything. I buy all kinds of items. I do estate buyouts. I do hoarder houses, storage units. And then I kind of list a bunch of items that I'm interested in buying. Then at the bottom, I usually put something along the lines of, you know, I pay cash, top dollar for your unwanted items, and I pay more than pawn shops. And that's usually it. And then I use that on pretty much every one of my posts. I'll just copy and paste it. And I try to post at least every day or two, because you constantly, you know, you want your posts to be fresh. If you post something in a, let's say like a Facebook group, it's going to go way down on the feed. Also on Craigslist, if you make a post on Craigslist, it eventually, 2 or 3 days go by, your post is going to be almost invisible because there's so many people posting on these sites. So you need to keep posting and refreshing and renewing your listings on a regular basis. Now, I've been experimenting a little bit with, Facebook paid advertising, and it has worked. I just don't know enough about it to actually, dig deep into information regarding, Facebook, advertising. But I do see that is going to be something that I'm probably going to use in the future, because what little bit I did do, I started to receive phone calls immediately, and I got a lot of business just from that little bit of money that I spent on advertising. So that's definitely a viable source for me later on down the road. I just need to learn more about it and figure out how to actually, do it better, because it's not, as easy as it looks. But anyways, so I hope that answers your question about, how I post and how I find people to sell me items and things of that nature. It's really not that hard. Don't overthink it. Don't put too much time and effort into trying to figure it out. The first step is to just start, go to Craigslist and put a post up. I try to post, there's little tricky ways to get your post seen on Craigslist. They switched the rules. So if you post under, let's say for sale, and it's not an actual item for sale, then the actual ad will be flagged and it'll be removed. So you can only post in a few different categories. You can post in like the wanted category. They also have a community category, and that's where I get a lot of business from. People that are, let's say older folks, they like to go to Craigslist, and they like to use that community, section to read things that are going on in their community. It could be news topics. It could be, like word of mouth, things of that nature. So I get a lot of business from there, but I usually just post under the wanted, and that receives, quite a bit of action. So also the local advertising, flyers and business cards. If you have areas like really popular restaurants, even popular, shops and little places like that you can put up a flyer and a business card, I highly recommend doing that, because I get a lot of phone calls from just people seeing those and calling me up. Also, learning, building relationships with people at pawn shops and thrift stores. I have tons of relationships with people that own pawn shops. I have a really good friend of mine, Richard. He owns a pawn shop, and he keeps a big stack of my business cards right on the front desk, right there in the right when you walk into the pawn shop. And he has, people come in all the time. Pawn shops are constantly busy with a bunch of foot traffic, and people will come in, and if somebody comes in and they say, hey, I'm trying to sell, a bunch of stuff. I have a garage full of items. Well, obviously, Richard isn't in the business of cleaning out garages or buying whole estates. He deals in specific items: gold, silver, diamonds, guns, electronics. So usually what he will do is he will recommend those people to me. Now, this way of advertising and relationship building is a little tricky, because you need to, provide value to him, and he's going to provide value to you. So you need to be sending people to him as well, and that's what I do. If people come to me and they have something that I'm just not interested in, or maybe it's a little over my head, maybe I can't afford to buy a $20,000 diamond ring right now, I will recommend that they go see my buddy Richard at Richard Pawn. And so it's a give and take. You have to build that relationship. But it's a vital relationship, especially if you're trying to, really, become a business in your local area, and you're trying to become the #1 go-to person to buy people's items. These kinds of relationships and networking is vital for your business. So I hope that answers your question, David. I also just wanted to say, a big shout out to you for reaching out to me and asking questions. I really appreciate it. Get anybody out there watching, if you ever have any questions, if you ever want me to make a video, or you want me to, comment on something, a specific topic all you have to do is reach out to me. There's numerous ways that you can reach out to me. You can either leave a comment down in the video, or you can reach out to me on social media on Instagram at Resellerrockefeller, or Twitter at the King of Resell, or you can go to my Facebook page, Resellerrockefeller. So there's numerous ways to reach out to me, and I always encourage people to ask questions. Don't just watch my videos. Ask me questions. If you have questions that you would like me to answer, just reach out. I'm a really cool guy. I'm not, I'm not the type of person that's going to not reply back. I'm going to reply back instantly, and I'll answer whatever questions you have. So I hope that that answers your questions, David. But let me get back to packaging these orders. I have those few late orders that need to go out, and then I'm probably going to go into Gainesville. I actually am running short on boxes, so I'm probably going to go do a run and go pick up some boxes and some packing materials, and then I'll probably come back, and then I got to deliver that piano later on this evening. So I think I'm going to cut the video off here. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for coming and watching another video. Until next time, folks, I hope that your sales are doing good. I hope that you're listing items. And I hope that you're happy. That's the most important. In this business, you got to be happy. And that's the whole reason that we're doing it, right? So until next time, folks, I'm out of here. Peace.